Welcome everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, good people, I am in airplane mode, gang. We are back at it like a bad habit for our first after show in God knows how long. And I got to give credit to my girl Robin on this one because Robin dropped a story on me about the McMahons that you are going to want to hear. What's up, Robin? PC's in the house. I see Raw here. Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much for coming through, gang. This shit gonna be crazy. So look, this is how we gonna do it. First, we're gonna start with a little bit of background. I'm gonna hit y'all with a little bit of background on the McMahons and their history. Then we're gonna jump into the story about the McMahons. That shit gonna be crazy. And then I got a bonus story for y'all, which for some of y'all I'm gonna be ruining your childhood. But hey, that's what we do around here. Got to keep it real. All right. So first thing we're gonna do, let's jump into a little bit of background and history about the McMahons. For those who don't know what we're talking about the McMahons, Vince McMahon and Linda McMahon. Okay, and Vince was the longtime owner of what used to be called WWF. It's currently called WWE, World Wrestling Entertainment. Um, he in recent years, due to his own controversies related to sexual harassment and sexual abuse scandals and sex trafficking allegations, has been like on the ins and outs of the company. Like, they would kind of push him out, and he would kind of force his way back in. Then they pushed him out again. Then he kind of forced his way back in. The most recent thing he did was he really came back. His last stint with the company was really to sell the company. He sold it to TKO. They formed this big merger with UFC. So now the UFC and the WWE are actually ran by the same company. People don't realize this, but Vince McMahon literally came back in the WWE just to sell it. Okay. So wrestling fans have long hated Vince McMahon. And after he sold it, some real allegations, concrete allegations from a woman named Janelle Grant really hit. Her story of being trafficked by Vince McMahon and sexually abused by him and other wrestlers and other executives and personnel at the WWE. So that is how we finally got rid of Vince McMahon once and for all. When that happened, he was forced to, I guess, sell his holdings in TKO. He was pushed out of the company, and he will never be back. But there are new allegations that are actually, someone who's been in wrestling for a long time and around the wrestling rumor mill, they're definitely related to long-term stories and a long-term rumor stuff that we heard was going on for sure, for sure. These allegations have been around for a while, but there's been a suit filed. Now, why is all of this especially relevant right now? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But I'm definitely interested as a wrestling fan. But one of the reasons people might be interested is that Linda McMahon was a big part of the Trump administration. And currently, she is serving as the co-lead, I believe, of Donald Trump's transition team. And she has been named in a lawsuit about abuse allegations, we'll say. All right. So that's what we're setting up. This is some serious shit, y'all. This is some breaking news that happened today. That's why, again, I got to give a shout out to my girl Robin for dropping the news on me. All right. And then the last story is something I wanted to share with y'all anyway. So I decided to throw it all together, call it Pocket Lockers Wrestling Roundup. Let's get into it. So like I said, we're going to start. I'm going to give y'all a little bit of background on the McMahons because they're a very interesting couple. They have a very weird history. So we're going to start with that. All right, here we go. Oh, y'all know the game. Y'all know the routine. First, we're going to get into the mode. Cheers. Had a great weekend with y'all. We had a great stream earlier. Please check it out if you didn't see our stream earlier. I think it was actually quite substantive and important, at least for me. This one is definitely more passion project because I know I'm a huge wrestling guy. Cheers. Love y'all. Thanks for rocking with me. Also, they told me Steph was going live, so I think Steph was going live. I think I saw Nitty live when I pulled up my stream. I think Nitty's live. So y'all know how it is. We all family out here. We all community. If y'all want to go check them out, that's cool. Show them some love. Definitely always appreciate it. But yeah, let's get into it.
Former WWE Chairman Vince McMahon's estrangement from his wife Linda McMahon has become common knowledge in recent years, but their marriage was unusual well before that. When Linda Edwards and Vince McMahon tied the knot in 1966, she was just 17 and he was 21. They had known each other for 4 years, having met through their mothers.
Let's see, I think I was 13 years old. And
Wow.
Vince was
16.
Despite the age gap, their families were okay with the relationship. Vince had actually been drawn to Linda's.
Nah, I think like it's only a few years, you know. I don't think it's that big, but you know, 13, 17. That it's weird because when you're like teenagers, like the age differences and stuff. But yeah, all right, here we go.
He told Cigar Aficionado in 2004, "I had no idea what a family was until I met Linda and saw how they lived." Vince's father abandoned him and his mother when Vince was a baby, so he was raised by his mother and her different partners, many of whom were abusive. The man whose last name Vince used in his youth, Leo Lupton, left a particularly deep wound. He told Playboy in 2001, "Lived with her and my real ass of a stepfather, a man who enjoyed kicking people around."
Wow.
By the time he was 14,
See, this is crazy. I know I like to say hurt people, and it's definitely quickly you could identify the pattern of abuse early in this man's life. But you know, he grew up to himself, you know, really hurt a lot of people. It's a real tragic story, but you know, we always got to remember, like, I don't know, it's all about trying to break the cycle. All about trying to break the cycle.
Vince was essentially on his own. Emotionally, Vince craved the security and a sense of belonging he had been deprived of. Linda and her family gave him that. He said in the Cigar Aficionado interview, "It was an
Nitty's
Aussie and
here.
idiot life. There
Nitty, I
wasn't
just plugged your
screaming
stream,
and dating.
son.
You see, I thought there's something else. I wanted some of that stability and love,
Oh,
and then I
damn.
wanted more of it." The whole McMahon family has
Now
been
that's
involved in
interesting. Have y'all ever been in a situation like that, attracted to a person's family? You know, that's really interesting. Like to see a person's family dynamic and want to fit into. I definitely had some girls I dated when I was coming up that had some families I really, really loved. I don't want to mention no names, but yeah, nah, they were definitely. It was hard for me, y'all, because you know, I was black. I was the only black kid in all white school, right? And so a lot of times my love life was very complicated at a very early age because of race. Matter of fact, I was telling a friend the other day about how I had a girlfriend and her mother didn't want her in the same hallway as me, y'all. Not in the same hallway. Now, of course, my school should have said, fuck no, that's some racist bullshit. But I went to a Catholic school, so they didn't. They went along with that shit. And they actually tried to keep us in, like, they tried to police, like, when we changed classes and shit to make sure that we weren't in the hallway at the same time as each other. That type of shit is super traumatic. But I definitely remember families that were like welcoming and like receptive to me, that like it did really have a strong pull on me towards that girl, because I just wanted to fit in and just feel like, you know, I wouldn't be rejected because of the color of my skin. So weirdly, like I kind of relate to that.
in WWE, both in front of and behind the cameras. Some of the storylines they've been involved in really pushed the envelope too. In one, Vince passionately kissed Trish Stratus in front of Linda, who was, in storyline, in a comatose state. Sitting in a wheelchair, Linda just sat there watching her husband passionately kiss his employee. Linda didn't mind. It was part of a job she had fun doing. And she's been on the other side as well. In 2003, Linda filmed a kissing scene with Eric Bischoff. The whole thing was supervised by Vince. Bischoff called the experience surreal and awkward on his 83 Weeks podcast.
All right, but you know what? Like, I don't know, y'all. Like, I do think we think differently of these things now. And Vince has always had this shit, always. Matter of fact, he wanted to do a storyline where the father of his daughter's baby was actually going to be his son. And Stephanie McMahon had to shoot down that storyline. She had to say, "No, Dad, I will not pretend that I got pregnant by my brother on national TV." Wrestling is worked. I don't like to use the term fake. Wrestling is work. That's a technical term. It is entertainment. It is a storyline. But it's very different than what you get in most scripted television shows. Because even though wrestlers play characters, those characters in a sense are themselves usually. And a lot of times we know a lot of details about their life. So even if you do a story in a drama where you're like, oh, let's do some palace intrigue where, the king is, having some affair and he disrespects the queen by, making out with one of his strumpets at an official banquet. Well, yeah, we'll watch that on some Game of Thrones type shit because we know these people aren't really related. This is a storyline. These are all paid actors, on and on and on. The princess got impregnated by the prince. This is a weird story. I don't know why this is what you guys are into, but again, that they're not really related. So wrestling, the sense of that pulls you is that blurring between what's real and what's fake, and we love to be played with as an audience. But when we look at a lot of this McMahon shit, it's weird. There's a lot of weird people who have found themselves in position of power in wrestling. Vince McMahon's not the only one. There's a guy that we all hate by the name of Vince Russo, who also fucking ruined wrestling with a lot of that Jerry Springer. Remember that Jerry Springer bullshit from the 90s that you saw? Yeah, that was mostly Vince Russo. But anyway, it's uniquely strange with all this Vince McMahon shit when it's like, no, we know that's really your wife, and that's fucking creepy. No, we know Stephanie McMahon is actually your daughter, and Shane McMahon is actually her brother. Why on earth would you want to put forth a story? And you could say you just do it for the money, and we're the McMahons, and we're willing to just do whatever. I think even online, I don't know if it's Nitty or Sean, right? You guys remember that fake family? Who was it that was engaging with that fake family? It was like a fake family on YouTube, and like they would have their own little fucked up abusive dynamics or whatever. They were like doing a fake apologist thing or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, that's what's weird. Let's go.
And it wasn't until I got there that I found out exactly what I was going to be doing. And I thought, oh, well, this is different, but let's give it a shot.
In 2000, Vince and Linda's daughter, Stephanie McMahon, got physical with her mother in front of the world. Linda told The Telegraph in 2002, "She definitely slapped me for real. It was painful. It was really very difficult." As of April 2024, Forbes estimated Vince McMahon's fortune to be $2.8 billion. Clearly, Vince, Linda McMahon, and their 2 children have plenty of money to go around. But that wasn't always the case. In 1976, when Vince worked for his father's business, Capital Wrestling Corporation, he and Linda filed for bankruptcy after racking up $1 million in debt. The bankruptcy became public in 2010 when Linda was running for U.S. Senate, and the Connecticut Post broke the story. Linda was pregnant with Stephanie at the time, and they were caring for their son Shane, who was born in 1970. To make ends meet, they had to briefly resort to using food stamps, a program she defended during her 2 Senate campaigns. During her second run in 2012, she told the Connecticut Post, "I can tell you in today's economy with so many people out of work, I would not support cuts to our food and nutrition programs." The McMahons' financial troubles arose after a miscalculated investment in the stunt performer Evel Knievel. They have since used the bankruptcy to promote their brand. Linda promoted their self-made story to advance her unsuccessful campaigns and continued to for years after. She said on Facebook Live in 2017, shortly after she was appointed head of the Small Business Administration by then-President Donald Trump, "It was tough, but you know, it's not how you fall, but how you get up."
All of those things are, they really, give you good life experiences.
Vince McMahon
It's very interesting because, I don't know, in a lot of ways, Linda has escaped a lot of the heat for Vince. Like it's very much always felt like, poor Linda having to deal with this man. But I think the more that you peek behind the curtain in couples like this, you often find that, these wives are as ruthless and just as problematic as the men that we don't really hold them accountable for being with, right? Like if you're Melania Trump and you're willing to stay married to Donald Trump, like fuck you and the horse you rode in on, right? Like so it's interesting when in some ways these people are not victims at all. They're just as bad as their partners.
No issues admitting he cheated on his wife throughout the years. He
Hey,
told
Fox.
Playboy in 2001,
Hey, Victoria.
"I never ever threw anything in her face. I was discreet." But it seems he didn't do a very good job of keeping his affairs secret. Even his kids knew about them, and they still caused quite a bit of damage to his family. Stephanie McMahon was in plenty of fights with her father over the subject, but she eventually got used to it. What bothered her for years on end was his insistence on talking about his affairs in interviews. But that stopped bothering her at some point, too. She told Howard Stern in 2002.
It still is a little like, Dad, okay, everybody knows now. You don't have to rub it in.
Vince also took pride in being honest about his affairs when Linda confronted him about it. He said, "One day she asked me point blank, 'You are having an affair with so-and-so?' And I've never lied to her. Yes, it crushed her." Vince's romantic story.
Isn't that weird? Like, I think affairs are fucked up. Let me just be clear. I know it might sound corny, but I'm a person who, like, you make a commitment to a person, just be committed. And if you don't want to be committed anymore, you're grown. Like, have that conversation and do something different. Same time, if you want to hang around and stay with somebody that's going to just cheat on you systematically, like, that's just the whole thing. And you just, I don't know, you stay together for the money, you stay together for the kids, you stay together for whatever reason. That's your business. That's your business, for sure. And yeah, we admire people who are willing to take accountability. There are people, even celebrities, who I've seen, make confessions about affairs or infidelity in a way that is admirable, I would say, right? Recognizing, they were in a bad place, things were broken, it was super fucked up. Certainly not making it seem like something they're continuing to do, and then really using that to, lift up their wife. Like, we'll get it. Matter of fact, we might get there, but it's like, the way to just brag about it, like to just brag about the affairs, and then you just keep doing them, and then, oh yeah, I told my wife, yeah, it crushed her, but like, right, like that's not it. That's not it. That's a miss. That's not what we mean, right? And so it's weird, but I don't think it's admirable to just be that dismissive and brazen about it. It's just fucking scumbag.
Storylines with a series of women in WWE, including Candice Michelle, Tori Wilson, Trish Stratus, and Sable, led many to wonder if he was sleeping with them outside the ring. The Wall Street
Certainly
Journal
probably
reported
trying.
in June 2022 that earlier that year, WWE had opened an investigation into its then chairman for allegedly paying $3 million to a former employee to keep quiet about an affair. The investigation also brought to light settlements Vince was said to have paid out to other employees. Vince announced his
Apparently, Vince has paid about $15 million to 4 women in relation to sexual misconduct allegations.
retirement soon after, but returned to the company to oversee a merger with UFC. In January 2024, former WWE employee Janelle Grant filed a lawsuit against Vince, former WWE executive John Laurinaitis, and WWE itself, alleging sex trafficking and abuse. Some reports characterized the probe into Vince as the last straw for Linda. A source told the National Enquirer, "Linda has put up with too much for too long. This is just the latest of Vince's many indiscretions, but now she has to bear the humiliation of the world knowing her husband is allegedly paying off the women he beds." That said, Linda and Vince had reportedly been living separately for quite some time, according to former WWE head writer Vince Russo.
I don't know the timing, okay? Bro, Vince McMahon was not living with Linda for decades.
According to Radar, Linda
Yeah, that's
is
what's interesting. And like even post the whole Janelle Grant thing, like Vince has like been pretty much openly seen out on the town with like his new floozies, you know, these like younger women. Honestly, they're probably younger than Stephanie. And I've seen it with some that are probably actually a little bit older, but I don't know. It's so yeah, this is what I mean. Their whole thing has just been weird. It's almost felt in many ways like I think people's impression of the Clintons, right? Where they'll be together forever, but there's a lot of discussion about them living separate lives.
said to have considered seeking a divorce, though she hasn't filed papers as of the making of this video. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault,
Right,
help
Fox?
is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network
Hey,
website
Sarah.
or contact RAIN's national helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE
Hey, PC.
4673.
Oh my goodness. All right, y'all. So look, that's the backdrop. I just wanted to give you a little bit of these McMahons, they're not just anybody, right? There's a whole long drawn out backstory. But now I feel like y'all are pretty caught up to speed. I like that. That piece got us. All right, so now this is what Robin brought us today, y'all. Thanks again to Robin for sharing the news with me. So this is the late breaking story, y'all. All right, breaking news. I haven't seen this, y'all, so we gonna go through this together. And yeah, well, hang on, let me take another shot. Cheers, y'all. I love having fun with y'all. I love bringing y'all stuff, but I do want to just take a moment to just say, let's not lose sight of the fact that these are sensitive topics. Trigger warning, we're going to be continuing to talk about abuse, and there are real victims here. So for me, I like to jump into the wrestling, and every once in a while I like to get into the celebrity gossip, and this is kind of a opportunity for all them things to come together. But I always feel like if we're going to cover these things, we should at least just put a little friendly reminder, like we're talking about real shit that's happened to real people, and definitely keep that in mind. All right, let's go.
Hey guys, it's Simon. This is Wrestling Unlimited, as we have some breaking news as a new lawsuit has been filed against Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, WWE, and TKO. Press release was put out today stating the following. Cecilio Levitt and Murphy, Falcon and Murphy, file lawsuit against World Wrestling Entertainment LLC, Vincent K. McMahon, Linda McMahon, and TKO Group Holdings, Inc. on behalf of, quote, ring boys who survived sexual abuse. Defendants allegedly allowed open, rampant abuse of underage boy employment by the WWE. Cecilio Levitt and Murphy, Falcon and Murphy, filed a major lawsuit today against World Wrestling Entertainment LLC, WWE, Vincent K. McMahon, and Linda McMahon, the McMahons, and TKO Group Holdings, Inc., TKO, on behalf of 5 survivors of sexual abuse. The survivors, John Does 1 through 5, were known within WWE as, quote, ring boys, underage boys hired by the organization's ringside announcer and ring crew chief, Melvin Phillips Jr., to assist with errands and other tasks in preparation for WWE's wrestling shows. The underage ring boys were groomed, exploited, and sexually abused by Phillips, who targeted children from broken homes. His sexual assaults occurred not only at the wrestling venues, but also in hotel rooms and other locations where Phillips would shuttle the boys in plain sight. Defendants were fully aware of the systemic and pervasive abuse and did nothing to prevent or stop it. The FBI previously identified at least 10 ring boys abused by Phillips, but there are likely countless others.
All right, let me go see what that alert was.
Silence for decades. Thanks to the bravery of our clients, we finally have a chance to hold accountable those who allowed and enabled the open, rampant sexual abuse of those young boys, said Greg Gutzler, a partner at DeCilio Levitt, who was leading the litigation. Quote, that many were aware of the sexual abuse of the ring boys and did nothing to prevent or stop it is unconscionable. The survivors only recently learned of the depths of knowledge that McMahon and the WWE had about what happened to them, and that sexual abuse in the company started at the top with the McMahons. The filing of Grant v. WWE, ETAL number 24, CV 90. The accusation of the WWE by TKO and the ouster of Vince McMahon as CEO all have provided new insights and the possibility of coming forward without incurring retribution and intimidation of the McMahons. This information, along with recent changes in sex abuse laws, has allowed them to pursue justice in this suit. Quote, the WWE and McMahons had a responsibility to those underage boys, and they failed them in the worst way possible.
All right.
To uncover the truth about this systemic, insidious, and life-altering abuse, said Mark DeCilio, founding partner of DeCilio Levitt. We commend our clients for their bravery in coming forward and promise to relentlessly seek justice for them, end quote. Quote, these survivors are profiles in courage. 1/3 of child sex abuse victims never come forward because the shame, humiliation, trauma, and physical and psychological injuries silence them.
All right, this is wild. Quickly, thanks to Left-Handed Jedi for the sub. And also, I got a super chat earlier and I totally missed it. I feel really bad. I almost want to go back to the last stream. But thank y'all for all your generosity. I super appreciate it. I feel like I'm terrible about those things. I rarely get them, and then I miss one, and I feel like, oh my God, I'm never going to super chat again. But look, I really, really appreciate it, Jedi, and thanks to all the supporters and chatters. All right, so just to tell y'all what's up. This person, this official was known about for a long time. There's been a lot of talk about this person and this whole scandal with the ring boys, including accusations that stuff was like videotaped. And then allegedly Vince fired the guy and then brought them back within like 6 weeks or something like that. So he did fire him at some point, brought him back, allegedly verbally warned him, like said something like stay away from the young boys, I guess, or something like that. Apparently that wasn't followed. So this is the result. So I would say this will send ripples through the wrestling community, and I would say most people will think there's a lot of legitimacy here too. And you have 5 people filing. I wouldn't be surprised if even more people came forward.
Quote, the Professor Mark Hamilton, founder and CEO of Child USA, a leading nonprofit think tank fighting to preserve and strengthen children's rights. Quote, sadly, we know that 1 in 5 girls and 1 in 13 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. Child USA is fighting child sex abuse and trafficking, and one of the greatest tools in our arsenal is to pursue for statute of limitation reform so perpetrators and their enabling institutions can be held accountable in cases of delayed disclosure. Due to the Maryland window we fought for, these brave survivors can seek justice. So this is a story we've heard of for a very long time. The Ring Boy scandal.
Yeah, exactly.
Many different people were involved in this scandal, including Pat Patterson and Terry Garvin, allegedly. Yet once the Ring Boy stuff came out, Terry Garvin left WWE, never to come back again. Pat Patterson, well, we all know the story of Pat Patterson and how closely tied he was to Vince McMahon. Everyone always denied Pat had anything to do with any of this, and it kind of just got swept under the rug. So with that, if we do hear anything further on these 5 victims.
Oh, Kevin, thanks for the follow. Thanks for the follow, Kevin. Appreciate it.
WWE and TKO. We'll have it for you right here. Pro Wrestling Unlimited.
All right, so that's the story. That's the breaking news, is that this lawsuit has been filed. There are 5 John Does in this lawsuit, and they have not just sued Vince. They have sued WWE. They have sued TKO, and very interestingly, they have named in particular Linda McMahon. I wonder if that is, and this is just me pondering out loud, I wonder if that is simply related to her role at the company, right? There was times like when Vince owned the company outright or whatever, and the McMahons were in charge, where she had very substantial roles. Like I think she was the CFO, like the chief financial officer of the WWE. So will it simply be, she's named along with him in the sense of basically having supervisory responsibilities, maybe for hiring, firing, and payroll, and or will it come out that there are stronger allegations of her having a more systematic role or knowledge of the abuse? Very interesting. I also think it's just more ickiness around the Trump administration, particularly around sexual abuse, particularly around minors, and another reminder that the far right just has this propensity for finding the worst people, somehow continuing to constantly end up elevated into positions of power, usually because they systematically seem to not care about these things, and to look the other way and overlook problematic personalities just to get ahead. So it's sort of an ickiness around the Trump world, but I don't really, like I said, I don't think that will be much of the connection. I think this will mostly be a story in the wrestling world, and be seen more as, sort of a continuation of the Vince McMahon drama. I doubt if this will spill over into political news and become an issue for Trump. That's not to say there won't be any coverage. Matter of fact, I think that's why it's got the coverage it has. So, like when I looked it up, the story I found was like, it said, it's from The Hill, and it's Trump transition team leader named in WWE Ring Boys lawsuit. So I'm not saying that no one in the political world will write about it or mention it. I'm just saying I don't know if it will have legs like CNN, MSNBC legs, or legs to the extent that it becomes part of the election conversation. I just don't see it going that far. I think it'll be of interest. People will go, oh, another Trumper in trouble type of deal. But we'll see. We'll see. That's just kind of what I'm interested in seeing in terms of the coverage. But in some sense, like I think in another sense, this is kind of a good thing. Like in the sense of like it's good that the victims are coming forward. It's good that they're holding people accountable. It's good that this sort of dark chapter in wrestling history is being brought to light, and certainly hope that nothing like this is continuing to happen or will happen going forward. But I do think it's good for people to come forward. So I don't want to like celebrate anything about this, but I definitely I'm glad people came forward, and I'm glad somebody's doing something about it. All right, this next one's gonna hurt y'all a little bit. Some of y'all that were wrestling fans back in the day. I don't know how else to break this to you. I really don't. But if you were a wrestling fan back in the day, there's a really good chance that one of your favorite wrestlers of all time is the Phenom, the legend, the Undertaker. Yeah, well, it turns out the Undertaker's a MAGA moron and a fucking asshole. And the signs have been there all along, gang. They really have been. And it hurts me because not only was I the Undertaker was never my favorite wrestler. Okay, I'm a Shawn Michaels, Ric Flair guy. Bret Hart, the Undertaker, I liked him, but he was never like my top guy. Okay, but I did really I liked his personality. I always thought he was like a really cool dude. But now when I look back, the signs have been there. The signs have definitely been there. All right, let's get into it, y'all. I'm sorry to ruin your childhood like this, but fuck it, it's 2024. If Diddy's going down and TD Jakes is going down and Jay-Z's going down, fuck it, if my childhood can be ruined in 2024, your childhood can be ruined in 2024.
In a TikTok video posted after their interview, The Undertaker, real name Mark William Calloway, says you can either pick Kane, Donald Trump, and himself, or Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and Dave Bautista. Trump adds, the choice is yours. Let's go over why this is a stupid thing to say.
Everyone's talking about Manny saying, with the scriptures, saying that, basically the scripture that he quoted said, gay people should be stoned to death.
So my opinion on that is
I'm sorry, Robin, me too.
mom happens to be a lesbian, so I don't think that. I don't think it's funny. I feel like this, if anyone called my mother...
All right, so if anybody's seen what happened, I'm gonna let y'all hear this real quick.
Either pick Kane, Donald Trump, and himself, or Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and Dave Bautista. Trump adds, the choice is yours. Let's go over why this is a stupid thing to say.
Everyone's talking about Manny saying, with the scriptures, saying that, basically the scripture that he quoted said, gay people should be stoned to death.
So my opinion on that is the idiot. Mom happens to be a lesbian, so I don't think that. I don't think it's funny. I feel like this.
All right, so Batista's late mother was a lesbian, and he is not having it. So this is really interesting because there was a real time when Batista was definitely one of my favorite wrestlers. He just had the look and the entrance and the whole package. He was packaged really well. I love Batista. He's also Filipino or half Filipino, and some of my good friends growing up were Filipino, so they were super into it. So I was into it. We loved it. And I think for anybody it'd be fair to say that the Undertaker star kind of eclipsed Batista's as a WWE legend. But now I think this type of thing, believe it or not, really shifts things. And it shifts things in meaningful ways within wrestling. The wrestling community is, believe it or not, growing increasingly diverse. It's always getting more diverse. It's always getting more woke, more inclusive. People, sometimes people associate wrestling fans with like low class or white trash or something like that. If you go to a major WWE event, in anywhere there's a substantial population, you're gonna see everybody's at the WWE events, all ages, single people, families, young people, old people. It's everybody. And so you could have somebody like Hulk Hogan, who is undoubtedly the most famous wrestler to have ever lived, who carried the industry literally on his back. No doubt about the fact that he was the biggest star in the history of the business. Nobody wants him. Nobody will touch him. He never gets invited to WWE shows. He's not. That's a big part of why he's leaned into Trump world. A huge part of why Hulk Hogan has leaned into Trump world is because his racism, his misogyny, and his fucking pathetic lying have been exposed within the wrestling business. So they don't want anything to do with him. So now Undertaker, one of the greatest legends of all time, but you get deep enough in that Trump stench, it's going to really hinder how well people remember you. Whereas if you're Batista, and technically you are a huge star in wrestling, pretty much as big as it gets, but then went and came sort of an even bigger star, almost not quite to the same extent as The Rock, but you probably be the next guy in that conversation, him and John Cena, as far as global superstar wrestlers who went on to become main men in Hollywood. And then now you're like, a real man, really speaking up for social justice, really an outspoken ally and things like that. Your star rises. And then even how we remember him for his career and what he accomplished in the ring gets elevated because we're like, shit, man, we still fuck with Batista. So he's a legend. He's like a legend rising, whereas the Undertaker is like a legend sinking. Hey, don't be an asshole, people.
If anyone called my mother an animal, I'd stick my foot in his
Would you want to teach Manny a lesson?
No, I mean, that's his opinion. That's his opinion, but I'm just saying I don't appreciate it.
You think an apology would ever?
No.
You can't change someone's core?
Yeah, you can't come back from that, man. There's no coming back from that. I still look up to him as a fighter. It's just his personal views. They're just I don't know where he's even coming up with this garbage. Or it makes me respect him a lot less.
It's true. The choice is yours. Pick inclusivity over bigotry.
I didn't have enough.
No. Kentucky Atheist, I'm saying he definitely ended up being the bigger star in the ring. Sorry, you might have missed the beginning of that rant. But what I'm saying is him being so deep in MAGA, becoming an asshole, he can end up like Hulk Hogan, where the shit you do out of the ring after you stop wrestling takes your career down a couple pegs. Like Hulk Hogan, my example of Hulk Hogan was Hulk Hogan's the biggest star ever, but they can't put him on a show. They cannot put him on a show. Why? He's not in, if you look at the beginning opening package, WWE, isn't got Hulk Hogan in it no more? You cannot put him on a show. If he comes out the curtain, people are going to boo him out of the goddamn building. So Undertaker was definitely a bigger star than Batista in the ring, but now post, Undertaker's going down the Hulk Hogan path, whereas Batista standing up and being cool as shit. People are going to lose their mind when Batista comes back and makes celebrity guest appearances. And now if you're Triple H, who's in charge of WWE creative right now, you're now nervous about bringing the Undertaker back. He's always going to be a legend, but now you're worried because I'd be booing him.
Mental acuity and the physical attributes to turn that around.
There were also allegations that surfaced of The Undertaker hitting the late wrestler Chris Kanyon, who was openly gay, with a steel chair because of his sexuality.
Again, think about this, y'all. There's been a story floating around for years alleging that The Undertaker maliciously hit Kanyon with a steel chair because he was gay. On a recent episode of 6 Feet Under podcast, the Phenom discussed the topic of chair shots with guest Maven. Taker defended the use of steel chairs and expressed a bit of frustration with the accusations. He added that he hates everyone the same. People just aren't buying it. The other thing is, like, Undertaker was, for people who don't know, he was like the captain of the locker room. He was the sort of judge, jury, and executioner of what was called Wrestlers Court. Basically, like, he was in charge of the locker room, and if there was conflicts among wrestlers, like you did something fucked up in the ring or did something you weren't supposed to do in the locker room or during a promo, it was like everybody would gather around in the locker room. you know, and you would face the Undertaker, you know, and make your case or whatever. And, you know, people tried to buy him off with whiskey and shit like that. It was a whole thing, but it was basically a way for the wrestlers, the boys, as they would call themselves, to sort of be able to settle tensions and things in-house without things having to rise to the level of, you know, going to the office, basically. And so, but I think once in a while, the Undertaker in that role took liberties with people. Matter of fact, we know he did. Maven himself took a chair shot to the head from the Undertaker because the Undertaker was pissed at him about some other shit he fucked up. That's not to say that they had a bad relationship, but he definitely whacked him in the head with a fucking steel chair over some shit. Okay. And, you know, given what we know now about concussions and things like that, that's not looked favorably upon. But I think even back then, we knew enough to know that that wasn't a good idea. So, you know, this is a serious thing, right? This is, even in the world of professional wrestling, you hitting somebody really hard with an unprotected chair shot because they're gay is an assault and a fucking hate crime. Period. End of story. I don't really want to hear no bullshit.
Though Taker denies the claim, some fans don't buy it.
I'm one of them.
So this one, it used to be a team logo. I was a part of a team of a person I considered a friend and someone I really looked up to. And then he later came out publicly with some anti-gay statements, and turned out to be an extreme homophobe. And so I had a huge issue with it. It's a personal issue with me. My mom's a lesbian, and I just can no longer call him a friend, and so I had it covered up with this.
A man who will never have to answer allegations such as these, and has proven to be an ally, Dave Bautista.
All they can talk about is abortion. That's all they talk about. And it really no longer pertains because we've done something on abortion that nobody thought was possible. And I give those three brilliant, if you think about it.
I don't know that Batista was talking about the Undertaker there, but he very well might have been. But in any case, I just want to just pause and think about that for a second. Like, here's a person who has something tattooed on him and realizes one of his friends is a fucking homophobe. And says, fuck that, I can't be with a friend like that. Presumably cuts him off. And then literally covers up the fucking tattoo. Now think about that the next time one of these little bitches on fucking YouTube is telling you, well, you want me to not talk to a neo-Nazi like Jim Bob? But I'm gonna lose like 3 viewers. What about all the comments they leave me? My comment section blows up when I talk to the neo-Nazi. Then I get subs. And I get subs. What am I supposed to do? Just remember what Batista did. Fuck that bullshit. I don't care if you got them motherfuckers tatted on your ass. Cover that shit up. We ain't got time for this bullshit. Yo, you see what I'm saying? You fucking with Batista, ain't you? You fucking with Batista right now, ain't you? I'm telling you, star rising. His star is rising.
And it's 6, but the 3 that we put in, but 6 brilliant justices of the United States Supreme Court.
Yes, Robin.
A tremendous hand for their intelligence, but also for their courage. It took a lot of courage.
Meanwhile, this was Donald Trump praising the overturning of Roe v. Wade, which Batista was furious about.
How important is it that men that look like you get a lot louder for women?
I don't think it has anything to do with men that look like me. I think every man needs to be louder about the rights of women.
Exactly. And you know who's silent? Guys like The Undertaker and Kane. Let's also go over what they choose to wear. On one hand, you have The Undertaker, a man who has been pictured with 2 lightning bolts.
Clear as day.
According to the Simon Wiesenthal Center, the bolts are a symbol used by neo-Nazis and white supremacists. The lightning bolts were part of the uniform of Nazi SS soldiers. Often the SS lightning bolts are used to show support for hateful beliefs and ideologies. When sitting down to be interviewed, he sports thin blue line shirts.
And that's what's
AKA
crazy.
Blue Lives Matter.
When I put this shit together, y'all, because you saw that old picture, that's young Undertaker. young, wasn't even rich yet, making his way into the industry. Hair still looked red as shit. Might have been his WCW days. Still rocking the SS. Then he had all these really weird affiliations. He did the whole biker thing. He was really in that biker culture. I can tell you, just as somebody who was a part of a fucking motorcycle club on GTA, biker culture is just inundated with fucking racism. It just is. I don't know how to tell you, but bikers and the people who admire them, they're not all that way. There's some people in there like me that were literally like the opposite. Like, yo, I'm not tolerating this bullshit. We need to let women in the club. I'm not tolerating this bullshit. We need to get more diverse. Like, there's people like us who are trying to, like, you know, make it real, make it more inclusive. Shit, everybody wants to ride. Everybody wants to have a good time. Everybody wants to be part of the community. Stop fucking around. But you got to know that when you get into that world, there's a lot of that. He's also been a propaganda guy his whole life, always with this shit. And so then when you see him here, retired, you know, playing the hits, going through his career, talking about the pain he's in, and really transitioning to his new life, which he's now a big podcaster. His YouTube channel's blowing up, and he does good podcasts, and you know, he's a good talker and all that kind of stuff. But you realize it's a whole through line. It's a whole through line. If you wearing SS shirts when you break in to the shit, and then you wearing Blue Lives Matter, Thin Blue Line shit when you retired, that's a straight through line. Your whole career, it's straight through your whole career, that whole thread. We're not dumb as fans. We pick up on these things. We notice these things. So now we're not just saying the Undertaker, like even Kane, like I don't know if y'all know this, Kane, you know, big red monster. His name's Glenn Jacobs. He's a right winger too. He's a Republican mayor, and it was very surprising to me to learn that Kane was a crazy right winger. To be honest, he's not as bad as some. Like when you hear him talk, he kind of strikes you as like a more of the old Republicans, but it's still very problematic. Like I don't fuck with Kane no more. Kane's star has fallen because of that too. You just got to be honest, y'all. Wrestling is entertainment. It's about popularity. The people who rise to the top of the card are the most popular. This right-wing bullshit is not popular. So somebody like the Undertaker, don't get me wrong, they're gonna try to put the Undertaker in front of us. Undertaker is still a character, is still an intellectual property that is making the WWE money hand over fist. But he is hurting that asset. I'm telling you, he's hurting that asset. Because as fans, again, we see that through line, and now we know who the Undertaker is. And everything we watch, everything we revisit, we'll now never forget that that's been a through line his entire career. He's a fucking MAGA moron.
Direct retaliation by the policing community in response to Black Lives Matter. Dave Bautista, on the other hand, will wear an LGBTQ plus flag and write on Instagram, "I was always proud of who my mom was because she was very proud of who she was. In your face, F you if you don't like it. Unapologetically loud and proud, and her son paid attention. Be loud, be proud, be you."
Got hit with COVID, you know, the whole thing, the whole world got hit with COVID, which
Right.
is the China virus to be exact. But
And again, any of y'all not calling that out? Any of y'all not calling that out? I can tell you this: you can stop watching this channel right now if you think I will let Trump sit in front of me and call COVID the China virus. But this is what I mean, y'all. We see it. We see it. He just said some super racist shit. You think the Undertaker Kane's gonna call him out? Nah.
and got hit hard. There's never been anything like it. Who would have ever thought the word pandemic? I heard the word, but you never thought it was like a modern day. You figure nowadays you take a shot and you're fine.
Motherfucker, you. Motherfucker, you. You were the president of the United States of America. You should have been thinking about pandemics. You should have been thinking about pandemics. You are the person who should have been talking about pandemics, thinking about pandemics. Yeah, you know what Barack Obama had in place? It's called the Pandemic Response Team. Why? Because he knew as the president, yeah, when the worst shit goes down, it stops at my desk. Yeah, everybody really in this country, this whole country gets to keep passing the buck. Everybody gets to say, It's somebody over them that should be worried about it. Yeah, but Barack Obama was like, yeah, but when the shit lands on my desk as the president of the United States, yeah, that's where passing the buck stops. And yeah, I'm not a fucking expert in infectious disease. So yeah, we need to make sure we have a pandemic response team. That's the best pandemic people we got in this motherfucking country. They need to be ready to go and they need to be on standby at all times. You know what Donald Trump did? He got rid of that team. And then you know what happened? We had a pandemic. And now, this time, he's promising to come back and get rid of all the other agencies that keep us safe. But let me guess. People think the Undertaker thinks it's cute to be an American badass with Donald Trump. It's just destroying his legacy.
Right. It goes, everyone is fine. But we had it's an ancient form of a disease. In 2017, it killed 100 million people. And we could have lost 100 million people too pretty easily. We lost many millions of people all over the world. So I got hit with that. We had a crazy election, which was, I won't get into it because I don't want to get you in any controversy.
While the old man rambles on, Batista cut a promo for Jimmy Kimmel, where he said in part, a lot of men
commercial was
think
so
that Donald
good.
Trump is some kind of tough guy. He's not. I mean, look at him. He wears more makeup than Dolly Parton. He whines like a baby. The guy is afraid of birds.
That guy's got a serious weight problem. Go home, start exercising.
The irony of him saying this was displayed in full by Batista when he pointed to a cardboard cutout of Trump on the golf course, adding, and I quote, like a garbage bag full of buttermilk.
Nice. Y'all put it on, right?
Batista has...
This, bro, I don't know how he manages to do these things. I used to say this before about how Donald Trump held the Bible. Y'all remember how Donald Trump held the Bible? I'll never forget it. Y'all never forget it. Pretend this is the front of the Bible. Donald Trump held the Bible like this. Yo, he held the Bible like this. Who the fuck holds the Bible like this? We've all been in church. You could hold the Bible like this. You could hold the Bible like this. You could hold it up like that. You could read it. You could stick it in your purse. You could carry it under. I've used it as a wallet. I've used it as a drum pad. I've had a Bible, just use damper, new quick drum pad, whatever. There's a gazillion ways to hold the Bible. And almost none of them's wrong. Almost none of them is wrong. He did this. This is the one wrong way to hold the Bible. This is the one way no one who ever has read a Bible or taken it seriously has ever carried it or held it ever, not never. He found the one wrong way to hold the Bible. Didn't even know you could do that. Now he's found the one wrong way to wear a hard hat. I've seen construction workers wear hard hats backwards, off to the side, under their arms. It don't fit right. It's not the right size. He put the build down towards like it's a baseball. It's almost an insult to workers. At least most regular folks just know how to just take a hard hat, put it on your head, and you've held a shovel before, so you know how to wear a hard hat and pretend shovel in a way that looks like you've at least shoveled some snow before in your life. What the fuck are we looking at right now? The hard hat is on wrong, and his shovel motion looks like he's jerking off a donkey. I hate this man.
Fun with the tough guy persona Trump puts out by mentioning the weird fireman baseball cards Trump released, as if the man would go anywhere near a burning building, let alone help. On Trump's weird dance, where he performs an awkward movement with his hands, Batista would hilariously state the following retort, and you know that little dance he does, the movie star asks? He looks like he's jacking off a pair of giraffes.
I know you got that tough guy persona and that bravado, but I think, this is good. This is fun. And I think
this is fun.
You've made politics fun again.
This is not a good opinion to have. It's Politics are not supposed to be fun. Our lives are in these people's hands. It's not entertainment. It's quite literally life or death. Batista knows.
And right now, the Undertaker is just another rich white guy who doesn't give a fuck about what really happens to regular people. Guess what, Undertaker? You're very, very rich because regular people supported you. And you're going to find out when regular people stop supporting you, you're going to be rich. But you ain't going to be as rich as you could have
As
been.
he posted a video on Instagram showing himself voting. He'd write the following caption: "Made my freedom heard. Voting early took me 20 minutes. No excuses. Freedom isn't something we just talk about. It's something we act on. Do your part. Get out there and vote. Your voice matters, and this election's too important to sit out." Hey, I appreciate you watching. Now, if you can, please do
All right,
become a
y'all.
channel.
I did it to you. I had to do it to you. They did it to me. I had to do it to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but the Undertaker is a MAGA moron. And I'm sorry if that's news to you. And the McMahons are crazy. Sex abuse, sex trafficking, grooming ring boys. Y'all, the world of wrestling is crazy. But hopefully it's a little bit of intrigue. So maybe now you know wrestling is dramatic, and what happens outside the ring is often more exciting than what happens inside the ring. That's always been the case. But look, y'all, this was fun. Thanks for tuning in. I know we did a stream earlier, so I'm not gonna make this super long, but yeah, there was real wrestling news, so I wanted to get on here, do a little after show, do a little something live for y'all. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Leave us a comment if you're watching later. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that great YouTube stuff. Really appreciate that. Get out there and vote, folks. That's still the most important thing happening right now. But I really do appreciate y'all tuning in. We will be hanging out and gather for the after party. Please join the Discord to stay in touch. Love y'all. Thanks so much for being in the chat. We'll see you next time.